Greetings, everyone. This is Cheryl back with another word. So, today is day 11 of our 31-day encouragement challenge, and we are still in the book of Ruth. Yesterday, we read from chapter 2 of Ruth, and we did a discussion. So, today, we are going to still pick up in chapter 2, and we are going to have a discussion about leaving the old for the new. So, when we study the life of Ruth, we discover that she is really a barrier breaker. And what do I mean by that? She shatters the status quo, right? And she has no hesitation with adopting new customs, new way of doing things, new behaviors, new practices. She has no hesitation with looking at the practices of what God has commanded her to be, right? Because she was accustomed to her God, the God that her people was praying to or worshiping, but it wasn't the God of Naomi. So she had to leave her culture behind to adapt to the new culture and to embrace the culture of the people of God. She left, like I say, her religious customs, her family, and her homeland, all that was familiar to her, to come into the unfamiliar. And basically, it started with a new way of doing things, all new people. Can you just imagine when, if you were Ruth and you was leaving your region or your hometown, and you were going to some place that you had no knowledge of, you had no family. I mean, it was brand new to you, but you had to adapt and adopt to some of the customs and lifestyles that's in that new region or new area that you have moved to. So as we're studying Ruth and thinking about Ruth, just think about if this was you, or maybe many of you have moved, are in transition. You could move from old way of doing things to new way of doing things. And maybe God took you off your job and he placed you on another job. In that old job, I mean, you were used to it. You could do it with your eyes closed. But this new job is challenging because you really don't know anything about it. So you have to adopt new ways of doing things. Maybe you used to do things one way, but now you're set to do things another way. Maybe you were used to coming in at 7 in the morning. Now you have to come in later than what you were accustomed to. It's so many things. Maybe you had an old mindset of doing things, and now God is retraining you and you have a new mindset. It's so many different ways that we can look at this. But as far as the modern day Ruths, they will carry within them a spirit that will allow them to move effortlessly among new cultures and nations of the world, bringing hope and light of God wherever they go. Now, are you a modern day Ruth? So what may seem mysterious and out of reach for others will be accessible and relatable to Ruths. Now, they will possess a necessary sensitivity to cultures and people and groups that mirrors the ministry of Jesus, one that is attractive and welcoming to all. Diverse nations of the world will be captivated by women who carry the Ruthanointing, wanting to know the God that they serve. Don't you want that? The Ruthanointing, where people see you, they was like, I want whatever she got, whatever she is doing, because there is such an anointing upon her. There is such a glory on her wherever she goes, that she attracts people. Wherever she goes, favor is there. Wherever she goes, I mean, it's just blessings upon blessings. So when we're leaving the familiar and looking into the new, one verse, or I want us to look at Isaiah, the 43rd chapter and the 19th verse. It says, listen carefully. I am about to do a new thing. Now it will spring forth. Now, as we are talking about this new thing, let's take it in the context of new possibilities, new opportunities. Like I said, new jobs, new houses, new clothes. I mean, you can go on and on and on. But there is a level of joy associated with that new thing. But before we can accept the new thing in our lives, we must let go of the old thing. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the story, Abraham's nephew, Lot. Remember, Lot went to live in that land of Sodom. And in that land, it was filled with all kind of things that was not of God. I can put it that way. That was not of God. So he had to leave that land. And remember when he packed up and he was leaving, he had his wife and his children with him, right? And one of the things that was said was, don't look behind you. But his wife, even though God was taking them into a new place, his wife couldn't leave what was behind because she looked back. When she looked back, she turned into a pillar of salt. A lot of times when God is when he is taking you to a new place, to do new things, to grasp onto a new idea or mindset, you have to close the door to the old way of doing things. You have to close the door to the place that you left. You have to close the door even to some people because they can't go into this new place where God is taking you. So wherever God is opening a new chapter in the story of our lives, there is an ending to an old chapter. New is wonderful, but sometimes the circumstances around entering the new may be challenging or sometimes even painful because it's so much that comes along with that new that we are not used to. Now, God has determined new things for his daughters, but being in position to receive them will require leaving familiar relationships, methods, and systems to embrace new things. Transitioning from the old to the new requires patience, partnership, and perseverance. If we are going to embrace the new, we must understand the process of transition. It will require both a new sense of purpose and boldness to step outside of every religious box. It will take going through a process of disconnecting and reconnecting. Many times when looking for newness, humanity tends to look for it without God. Many want new things on their own terms. But Ruth took a risk and left the familiar for her identity. Now, life begins when we leave our comfort zones. Ruth wholeheartedly embraced the new culture, the new home, and the new religion. The new things that came into Ruth's life did not come on her own terms. She had to bend her will to the Lord's in order to walk into her next season. Now, when we are forgetting those things which are behind, the Apostle Paul says, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things that are ahead, I press towards the goal, to the prize of the high calling of God in Jesus Christ, in Philippians, the 3rd chapter, and the 13th and 14th verse. Now, the hardest part, or the most difficult part about leaving the familiar is forgetting the old things. Because memory is a powerful mechanism. It was, sometimes it's just difficult to leave that in the past because it has been a part of us sometimes for a very long time. So as we look in familiar environments and other people connected to them, it can hold on to us and cause us to stay in a season too long that God is trying to get us to come out of that season into a new season. Another thing to consider is that the fear of the unknown can even cause us to stay in circumstances we hate or miserable in. How many of you are in a situation where you are just downright miserable? You know, it can be on a job where you're sick and tired of that job. You're sick and tired of the treatment. How many of you are in relationships that you are just miserable? I mean, it just irks your nerves. You're like, Lord, why am I still in this relationship? Like, why do you have me here? What purpose am I serving? I don't like it here. This isn't me. I'm just here, Lord. But the fear is brought on by believing lies about ourselves and others, such as you aren't worth it, you're not talented enough, God is not speaking to you. You will never make friends like the ones you had over there. You won't find a place to live and settle into, not like this one. You know, those things that go through our minds sometimes that are not of God, but it comes in our mind to make us fearful, so we want to step out of the old into the new. Who am I preaching to today? Now, if you leave, you will be forgotten. Lies like this can convince us to stay where we are. They may lead us to believe that we are better off settling for knowing misery than setting out on a journey to the unknown place where God is wanting us to move. Sometimes we miss out on our blessing because we are staying in a place where God is not going to bless. You know, sometimes we want God to bless us and we are prepared for that blessing. But in order to get that blessing, we have to leave where we at in order for God to bless us. Sometimes it just takes that one move, that one step of faith, and God will meet you. He will meet you where you're at. But you have to have the confidence and you have to have the faith in God that He is going to provide for you, that He is going to meet your every need, whatever that need is. I know so many times women stay in relationships, and it can be abusive relationships. They stay because they feel it's that fear factor that comes in. And sometimes they think that they can't do any better without that person. But you have to go to God in prayer. A lot of times we stay, like I said, because of fear. But once you make that step, now I'm not telling anyone to leave. I want you to seek God on it. Once you make that step, Lord, sometimes the Lord will open up so many doors and you will look back and say, now why did I stay? I mean, why did I stay back there so long? Look at how God is blessing me now. I didn't mean to hammer that. I believe the power of the Ruthanointing lies partly in a refusal to succumb to the draw to stay in a familiar environment. She also refused to become a victim of her own circumstances. Let me read that again. Ruth refused to become a victim of her own circumstances. She had an ability to see opportunity knocking at the door and did not hesitate to answer, which allowed her to walk right into the greatest future she could ever imagine. Now, women with a Ruth anointing will have inner strength to rise above their past, and with tenacity and perseverance, they will fulfill their destinies. And this is our lesson on moving from the old into the new. And tomorrow I will give you keys to successfully transition from the old to the new. I pray that this message has been a blessing to you. And like always, I am so delighted that you are here with me on this journey. We are all here to learn from each other, learn from God, to see what He has for us. And I pray that you are being blessed by this and that it's speaking to you, share this message with others who you think will benefit from it, who need to hear about this woman called Ruth. Are you a modern day Ruth? So, as always, be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow.